have a guest from City University of Hong Kong, a special guest visiting our university, Farabi University, Professor Denver Li. And of course, a reasonable question can arise, like why we need this interview. This is due that we spent really these past days together, and I think that you can share with our students and researchers some information. And I want to give you about you a bit that you are pioneers of using nickelates as a superconductor materials conductivity. But of course, about your topic, the community can found in internet or in other places. But your own experience, like how you obtained results, how you supervising students, and so on, really will be of interest to researchers and students. So the first question will be like. I want to ask you about publications. You know that many researchers today feel pressure to publish results as quickly as possible. But sometimes this rush can take away from depth of work. And I know that your first major publication was in Nature. And as you said in your lecture that it was published after months, which you already, after you getting some exciting data, and probably you can share how this process went and what you learned from this.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much, Paulette, and I'm very happy to join this interview. Like Paulette mentioned, I had spent a few very, very nice days here, and it's the second time I've been I'm in Kazakhstan. So far everything seems to be very friendly and very nice to me. Thanks again. And I told Bala as well that I always enjoyed talking to students, hoping my little own experiences could benefit. Yeah, coming back to the question, maybe I can say in two layers. The first layer is a more general regarding how you balance the publication with the depth of the research. I think this is a enduring, fundamental, general question for everyone, no matter where you are. My personal take is, of course, we should always take a very balanced view, meaning that my own experience is that, like, after my PhD time, I actually didn't really have publications in a very prestigious journal, right? But that was a bad and good, because the bad thing, of course, is that at some point I was thinking maybe if the situation continues like this, maybe it's difficult to find an academic job, at least the job that I dreamed of, right? So I at some point I was thinking or debating going to industry rather than staying in research, academic research. So that's the bad part. The good part is that eventually I took the Nicolay project, which is very obviously a high risk, high reward project, which normal, well-developed researchers, they probably would not take because it's too risky. But I thought it was a good thing for me. So eventually that led to this discovery. So I think there's always a bad and good thing. So if I now look back, particularly when I supervise my students nowadays, I try to, as I mentioned, to take a balanced view in the sense that I always encourage the students to write their papers, even if it is a small incremental step or a small discovery. Let's try to make a small paper, no matter whether it's published in a prestigious journal or just a normal journal. I think it's ultimately the fundamental motivation for students. If you want to continue in a very positive way, I think publication is important. Don't wait until, after a couple of years and you completely lose patience and the interest in research. However, indeed, I think from the very beginning, the eyes of the students should be put on big problems. These big problems are, of course, very abstract. They are based on experience, based on the study on literature. It's not just random, like you're a high school student and then you think about the universe, this kind of big problem. This is just not grounded, right? The big problem is that you have enough knowledge on literature. You read about the frontier of the field, and then you start to think about some reasonable and practical big problems. So these are the big problems I want to say, not really like up in the sky, big problems. This requires a very diligent and dedicated work to be able to say which are the big problems. But this is quite important because that would eventually lead to some major publication or so-called research with the depth of significant depth. For the second layer, very very short. My personal experience is that I found the signature of superconductivity, but we waited 8 months before we submit the paper. That was a very painful, long 8 months. But now I look back, it's really worth it. It taught me, how to seriously consider very important questions like finding a new superconductor. So I think that was both experience and lesson to myself.
Yeah, I think that so you actually answered for many questions which I prepared, like it's a publication which is solving the problem. But anyhow, when we discussed, for me, I think that very interesting experience was relationship with your supervisor. And I found that if I want to ask you about this approach of your supervisor. If I remember, you said he is very strict. So all these the results are repeated and confirmed many times. The publishing was not allowed. Yeah, if you will just share about this experience, I think that it will also be, and probably how this experience influenced in your own style of research.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'll start with just sharing my experience with my supervisor. And so my supervisor is a very strict person, highly respected. I think he is highly respected for a reason. He earned his reputation exactly due to his carefulness. Because he usually treat the data very seriously and treat the result very seriously. He always ask many times himself whether this is true or whether our understanding is correct. Okay, so there are many examples, but perhaps I can give you a few examples during our long journey. And the first time he listened to my presentation in the group meeting reporting the discovery of superconductivity, well, he did not really seems to be super excited. Of course, I know he's quite happy, quite excited, but you don't really see it. So offline, he told me the reason why he was not, seemingly not very excited, because he said, I need you to reproduce this 1,000 times. Until you reproduce 1,000 times, I won't believe it. I know probably in the bottom of his heart, he believed it, because he told me that looking at the curve, the resistance curve, it's not really like some artifacts that he knows. He's a very experienced, so he knows. So it looks like a real signal. But there is 1,000 times reproduction. This is one example. Then second example, I was also in a very difficult situation. Once I found the signal of superconductivity, I always worried about other people would report it first, right? Get scooped. So as you can imagine, it's a very awkward and difficult situation. On one hand, as a student, I really want to push out the paper as soon as possible. In some sense, from a student point of view, I don't really care too much, whether it's extremely high quality or normal quality. As long as this is real, I think it's fine, right? But my supervisor had put a very stringent standard, and he basically taught me, although this discovery is important, and we all worried to get scooped, but we still need to maintain our high standard. And he said that we need to send out the paper. We need to send the paper to our colleagues before we submit to Nature, because once submitted, it's regarded as a public. Okay, so there's no way turning back. If we want to hold a very high standard, we need to send the papers to our colleagues, ask them for their view. This is the last chance if we can rectify any mistakes. Okay, so you can imagine, even for such a very urgent situation, everybody wants to push the paper out very fast, that he still leaves the time and show the courtesy to his colleagues, making sure that the paper is well written, well presented, no flaw in the paper, etc. So I think this is definitely something I learned a lot, which I nowadays also tell my student to do the same. Sometimes it's difficult because we're everybody's under a lot of pressure. Yeah, but I think as early researchers or students, this philosophy of doing research is quite influential. I think it's quite important.
Thank you, Denver, for this really important experience. Yeah, and probably to go further on about, I also have one question about research. Probably this will be online. So you know that since today the research is quite a multidisciplinary, yeah, and we were talking about that the community or researchers communicate with other experts, for example, in characterization, yeah, and often instruments operates just collect the data without full understanding the process, and the question is probably how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, we discussed this question before. I think it's a legitimate general question. This really reminds me of different models in terms of research groups. Let me share this with you. So in Europe, for instance, I got my PhD in Switzerland. In Europe, in many places, especially some big equipments are run by technicians, experienced technicians, right? When I say experience, it means that there's a certain advantage of it, because it's not like a fresh student, they get trained for a couple of weeks and then they can work on the equipment, right? They always run by professionals. And as a student, you don't need to worry too much about breaking down the equipment. It's always well maintained by the technicians, etc., right? So the good thing about it is very obvious. The equipment is well maintained, the experience is accumulated, and the technician knows the machine for years, right? So they know all the details. So in terms of managing the equipment, it's perfect. Okay. But in contrast, there's a different, another type of research group, which is more in the United States, that the supervisors or professors, they do not have big groups with technicians, younger researchers as a major body of the management team. So their equipment need to be maintained by students, by PhD students most of the time. Okay, the drawback is very obvious. sometimes students do stupid things and damage the equipment, etc. But there are also good things. If you think about it, the student graduating from such an environment, they are very capable. They know the details of the equipment. Okay, so the reason I mentioned these two types is precisely linked to the question. So in Europe or in the group, the equipments are in majority managed by technicians. They can do the experiments, they can run the experiment, they can maintain the equipment, but they do not necessarily have the motivation to do the particular frontier research. Because as simple as that, they come at 9 and they go back home at 5. That's their job, right? But then the lack of a motivation to further explore. But while in the US, because of the ownership, like I feel this machine is mine, I would like to explore with this machine as far as possible, then many new techniques, new ideas are developed during this process. Okay, so I would encourage students to think more in the second route, although I understand each of us cannot operate all the equipment. We're probably only experts in one particular equipment, but that's fine. You can always collaborate with those who are experts in different equipments or facilities, and do collaborate with these scientists who have a strong motivation to push the frontier. This is what I do. For instance, in my group, we mainly grow samples. We measure resistance, transport properties. But if you read our paper, we always need a transmission electron microscopist, synchrotron, X-ray sources, beamline scientists. So we collaborate a lot. Okay, so we don't rest just relying on technicians to operate. We do go out to first explore by ourselves. The second, collaborating with true experts.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think that I have actually a lot of questions, but let's stop for the final questions on research, and I have one question about admission. So regarding research, we actually didn't discuss this question, but anyhow, it will be interesting for young researchers because they struggle to choose the right direction. And some follow trends while others want to create their own field like this. And so how do you decide where to go? And for you, what much matter more, following the trends or trusting your own intuition?
Yeah, very good question. I think intuition is always important, but I would say it's not that important, particularly for young researchers. Your intuition might be wrong. So always talk to more experienced researchers. I understand some students, they're particularly brilliant students, they have their own ideas. They always, even argue or doubt about their supervisors. But trust me, a lot of successful examples have already shown that these dialogue between the fresh PhD students or young researcher with more senior researchers is very, very helpful. Having said that, as a supervisor myself, I understand that supervisors or professors can be very busy with many things, administrative tasks or teaching or traveling, conferences, a lot, talking to people, right? So there's a consequence, meaning that I might not necessarily be understanding the whole frontier of research. So when I give advice, of course it cannot be possible that I'm always right, right? Because I probably need to put a lot of my focus on other things. How to navigate through this dilemma? I think the most important thing is mutual trust. Mutual trust means if you are a student, no matter what, you read the papers, you do literature research very carefully, then as a supervisor, I would develop the trust in you. for instance, after a couple of months or even 1 year, I believe this student knows what he's doing, right? He reads literatures, he listens to online talks, YouTube videos, and learn many things. Then I can trust this one. And then everything he says, I might put more, confidence into it. And then this will help the conversation, the dialogue. Then maybe some brilliant idea, new directions, good research projects will come out. However, if you are a student, let me be very strict. If you are a student, you don't read papers, you hang around without knowing what you are doing, right? And then you come to me and they're trying to convince me, look, this is what you propose is not a good research direction. I want to do this and that. How can that happen, right? There's no mutual trust. You don't trust me, I don't trust you. So I think a very good project to work on always come from you at least have a bit of a taste of what other people are doing. Some fundamental knowledge about the subject. Then we can have a conversation, we can brainstorm. And then maybe you got something that you're super interested and supported by your supervisor. So I think that would be the most ideal situation. Do it based on this and do it from your own interest. There's nothing out there, everything is equally important as long as you are interested, you are motivated to do. So there's no such a thing as this is good direction, that is a bad direction. If it is a bad direction, nobody would care, right? Nobody will jump on it. As long as there are people working on it, it's not a bad direction. So I think the good direction is always that if you find a common interest between you and your supervisor, you have this mutual trust, and then your supervisor knows that you're serious and you know that your supervisor is more experienced, I think a good research direction project will come out. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that the final question will be a more practical questions for students. We talk about how the admission process at your university is quite competitive, but still possible. Yeah, still possible to pass. And what advice you will give to our students who would like to apply to CityU?
Yeah, thanks, Bola. That's I think ultimately the most important question I want to answer. So trust me, everybody went through the same process. We were a freshman in the university, and then we graduate, and then we move to the next stage. So everybody had a similar experience. One very simple answer to that is to pay attention to your GPA from the very, very beginning. I was a freshman. I understood that once you're in the college, you feel very free, right? And then there are many, many things that you want to do. But no matter what you do, what you're interested, you're motivated by other stuff, but please pay attention to your GPA. Because the GPA really sets the foundation for your future opportunities. You always want to have more choices, opportunities when you compare or compete with other people. So that's a very short answer to that question. I think maybe to supplement a little bit on top of a GPA, try to reach out and get yourself exposed to research. Like I said, there's no such a thing as a good or bad research, as long as you do the research and you experience yourself. These research experiences can be put in your CV, and it will become a very sparkling information when your potential supervisor or other people read your CV. Maybe number 3, last point, not only apply to CityU, but apply widely to many institutions, is that you need to show that you are a capable person, self-contained person, meaning that you know what you're doing, right? I need to take care of my GPA, my courses. I know I need to expose myself to research. I also need to know that maybe I need a bit of leadership, training by participating in different student activities. All of these can be important factors, elements in your university life. But what is really beneath all these things is time management, self-management. through your CV, if the supervisor sees a person who know what is a good time management, what is a good self-management, I think everybody would love to admit the students like this, right? So maybe to summarize, GPA is important, and research exposure is important, and try to convey the message or build yourself as such that you know you are doing, and you are very confident about the future, and you know how to very wisely manage your time. So I think that would be.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Li, for the sharing experience and thoughts, and I think it will be really useful for students, and for students who start their scientific journey. And I also would like to thank you that you find time in this busy schedule to visit us. Really, we happy. Yeah, and I hope to see you very soon. We look forward to see you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Very happy.